So, let's talk about my friend Boo. Well, y'all don't know her full name yet. Who is Boo? Her name is actually Boo Best. Bhest, if I recall correctly. And I do. But she's someone that is near and dear to my heart. I've known her for quite some time. Quite a long time, now that I think about it. We both met while I was younger. In my, well, I keep saying youth, but I don't know. Would you kind of like almost a decade ago, or rounding upwards towards it as youth? I'd say so. I, I can still do flips, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'm getting off topic. We met one time when I was traveling. I had been taking the bus after a few different trips here and there, and I came across a wrestling event. Because back in the day, if you could believe it, she was actually a professional wrestler. She had been for quite a few years, actually. And, like I said, she likes to stand out. She just thrives in the limelight. So, the spotlight for that squared circle, she just, I don't know, she just felt at home over there. And I could see why. She had plenty of fans, really. She was strong. Like, you would think comically strong with how insane her actual feats of strength are. But I'll explain more about that later. She was beautiful. She just really seemed to captivate the crowd. And she was a part of, let me double check my notes here, jot this down. Yeah, the Global Wrestling Event League. Not the most creative of names, but I suppose some of the other ones were already taken. I don't know why they're not called Gel, and instead they call it Gwell. Because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, okay, it's the General Wrestling like event league, which kind of sounds stupid now that I say it out loud. But I was young, I didn't know any better, and I don't watch wrestling, so yeah, shows what I know, right? And it was interesting when I first saw her. It was her against, I don't remember the name because back her stage name back then she was I think it was like the Azure Assaulter because I think because she's blue obviously. I thought it was gonna be more of a cat based pun, but beggars can't be choosers. And it was just like a regular ladder match, and they went at it for a bit. She got thrown around. She did some throwing, and ultimately she hit her with like a off the ladder somersault through a table, and then won the match. And typically that would be the end of it. Everyone does the whistles and the clapping and the cheering, and she sits atop her metal throne, holding the belt and blowing kisses as she does. And I would have left after that. But funny thing about that is life never goes the way you would typically expect. Because, once I was leaving the parking lot and trying to find the next bus stop, I overheard her arguing with her manager, or I guess the manager of the league, because he was trying to push her to start throwing some matches to, I guess, basically prop up some younger, newer talent. Now, while she herself is not old and by any stretch of the means, because I'm pretty sure if I ever call her that, she would, what did she say again? Ah, yes, rip my tail out, force her hand up my spine like a puppet, and tear my skull out through my ass. Yeah, she's a colorful woman when she threatens people. And so they were bickering for a good minute here and there about where to go and how to go about doing things. And quite honestly, the guy was a bit of a scumbag. You know, the kind that says, I can make you famous to some like starry eyed, busty, young talent just trying to, strike ahead, so to speak, where he preferred people willing, more willing to play ball or play with his. Either way, Boo didn't really like care for that sort of thing. She was always a practitioner of the craft and took it very seriously. So much so that she threatened to walk if he wouldn't like promote her after that. So he didn't really like hearing that. And so I stayed around for a bit because I was just curious. I was like, you know what, let me talk to the lady. And he tried to send some of his own people who didn't work for the company but did work for him. I think it was a, if I recall correctly, I believe they were mobs, like mobsters. And so they tried to jump her in the parking lot and like, you know, I guess send a message. I immediately was gonna go step in until I saw her grab one of them by the legs after they took a bat to the back of her head and proceed to use him like the bat he just swung to beat the other guy, and she basically put him into a coma. Funny how that works. Afterwards, I helped take her to a hospital to get the head gash she had looked after, and yeah, I never understood how she got so strong. She says she gets it from her mother, but I've never seen. Well, I've never met her mother, but unless her mom can also stop buses at full speed, throw cars, and rip metal robots in half with their bare hands, I don't know. It's crazy how that works. But she also pumps iron and line goes to the gym, so maybe it's all just natural gains instead of just some freak genetic birth that she just happens to have. Afterwards, though, she wanted to go personally just talk to a manager. And given that I pointed out that he might actually have some assistants here and there, I learned something new about her that day. One, she's very headstrong. Two, she's an inventor. Because she made the prototype, originally the Mark I, of the gauntlets in her free time while she was traveling. Now, granted, it was nothing more than just like some metal gloves that could blind people with some flashing lights and even a little bit of a makeshift like knuckle dusters woven into it. But, she just said if she had more time to actually put work and effort into them, they could be something profound, something wonderful. And I agreed. So what we did do is we found the manager. Of course, he was on guard after he heard what she did and that she got out of the hospital. So what we did was during one of the events, one of the live events actually, we waited till he was in the ring to announce the promotion. And once he was, clip, clip, snip, the lights went off. And when they did, well, luckily she can see in the dark. Luckily, I can't. So outside of hearing a lot of screaming, I'm glad I didn't see what she did to the man. Because when the lights came back on, he was strung up where the belt used to be. And yeah, there was a piece of paper lodged, like, I don't know how she got it into his ear. Like, I think it was deep in his canal. I don't know how she did that. I would have just personally told him, made him eat it, but you know what? She doesn't come to me for advice on getting revenge. But she did take the money at the event that he had gotten, climbed to the highest rafters of the area, and basically made it rain on the crowd. Which, needless to say, they were going to fire her for that, but she had already quit in her own unique way. And quite frankly, it's hard to top something like that. But again, she's a strong woman. She immediately, once she left, she took a new name, which for a little bit was just Azzy, Azzy B, AZZIBEE. think of it as a pseudonym, and she went to an old mechanic spot that her grandma used to work at, because that's who she ended up living with when her mother, well, I'm not gonna say died, disappeared, because frankly, I don't know where she is either, and I couldn't tell you. I know where my dad is, but well, sleeping dogs lie and such. So she started working there for a while. However, the mob didn't take too kindly to what she had done to their business associate that night. And because they couldn't exactly get the money back from what they did, they started looking for her. So, naturally, I decided to check with her and see how she was doing. And lo and behold, they had burned down her shop after a while because they thought she was in there. She wasn't. And she was heartbroken. Pissed, but heartbroken. So, I decided on an alternative idea for her, which was I'll help her go after the people that torched the place. And in return, she joins my crew. I'll help her find the resources and funds and the time to craft some proper gauntlets and things of that nature. Let her build upon her own stuff. And in return, she'll help me out. Because, quite frankly, there's a lot of people here that need their attitudes readjusted, and I can think of no better person than I was going to say strong man. Don't tell her I called her that. The strong woman of a wrestling gig. And plus, she still has fans in the area because she was quite popular for a long while. I keep telling her she could always go back because the guy doesn't work there anymore, or at least not since he got outed as being a mob enforcer. Bad for the brand, so they had to get rid of him. And like I said, the wrestling events are always bringing back people that leave. Give it like a couple years, maybe even a decade, but they'll bring you back with open arms just to see how the fans will react. And again, I'm not saying the wrestling league has gone soft since she left. I'm saying think of the opportunities. There's a whole bunch of young, fresh faces for you to kick around, and even a few lasting veterans that probably want another chance to run the ones with the AA. But I'm just talking out of my ass. She specifically said she does not want me to join those events because she knows how I quote unquote get when it comes to dealing with the ladies. So I'm like, fair enough. And then ever since then, she's been running the gear for like the whole team. And she's even been working alongside some other people. She's got fans that came through that wanted to work with us, so we recruited some of them. And she's taking on apprentices of her own. Whether it's just teaching them her wrestling abilities or just teaching them how to like saw things off and solderize certain things, it's like, yeah, she's just moving on about. She likes keeping herself busy, though. She hates sitting still, which I suppose is where we both differ because I like enjoying my free time. She likes keeping focused. I was like, but again, she's a passionate woman, heart of gold on her, if anything. And I know she's got my back. And before you guys ask, no, I am not doing anything with her, okay? I look at her more like a sister, okay? More akin to I only see you as a friend sort of thing, all right? So don't even get that twisted now, ever. But yeah, Boo is one of a kind. Can't say I ever meet someone that's quite like her. And well, she also, funny thing is, she has a rival or three. This nice little echidna woman. I don't know what it is or where it started. Maybe they have rival families somewhere down the line, but they are just sparks fly when they meet each other. I keep telling them they should make out already, and they keep telling me to stop talking or they'll rip my lips off from both ends. But that lady is always competing with her, whether it's like something as simple as, you know what, arm wrestle me right now, or it'll be something along the lines of, let's see who can break this car apart and then put it back together. Let's test my extreme gear versus your extreme gear. Let's see who can get this light bulb and somehow turn it into a rocket ship. Hey, let's take this paper airplane, turn it into a bomber. I don't know how they did that. I know they traumatized that poor elementary school and we're not allowed back there now. But, who can't have a little bit of offset PTSD at the sweet old age of 6? But, I like that competitive nature with her. Pressure makes diamonds, as they say, and competition is key to that. I think it just makes her a better inventor overall. But outside of that, she has a big project she's working on. Nothing too like nothing too advanced compared to like the stuff she typically works on, but it's more grander in scale. Because she thinks, as a proper mercenary team, we should have an official mercenary base. And she's been working herself to the bone when it comes to this stuff. Like a 9 to 5, but she's there all the time. And quite frankly, I'm excited to see what she comes out with next. It's gonna be good, I'm telling you.